This week, I have been angry. And I have been angry at something that is very, very ridiculous. It has been beautiful outside. It has been gorgeous, and all of the flowers are blooming, and I have wisteria growing that's just incredible, and I have azaleas that are just this bright fuchsia, and it's gorgeous. And I walk outside, and I'm pissed off. And the reason is because it's still cold. Here is this gorgeous weather, this wonderful springtime, and it's cold, and I don't want to go out in it. And it's made me mad, and I have been pissed off at the weather. How ridiculous is that? How often do we just get angry at something that is pointless? And we shoot blame, and we get into these battles where we are just angry, and it's all exterior. We're emitting everything out of how everything else is affecting us. And sometimes we're not recognizing that there's only one thing that controls anger spewing out of us, and it has nothing to do with anything coming in. It has to do with what we are choosing to emit back out into the world, and our reactions back out in the world. So on my drive home from yoga this morning, I was listening on Audible to the latest book by Marshall Goldsmith that I've been reading that is called What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Now, I've read a book in the past by him called Triggers, and in both of these books, he talks about a Buddhist legend, and it's about anger, and I thought it was just fascinating. So basically the story is this. There's a man, and he's rushing to get somewhere, and he is out on this big river. It's a really large river, and he is trying to paddle up the river to deliver produce to a village. And as he's going, there's nothing else around. And then he sees a vessel in the middle of the river, and it is charging straight at him. And so he sees this, and he starts to yell. And you know how sound carries over water anyway. And he starts yelling. And he says, "Move out of the way. Don't you see me, you moron? What are you thinking? Change direction. This is a big river." And he's sitting there, and he's yelling, and he's yelling, and he's trying to move out of its way. And the thing is just coming faster and faster at him. It gets up to him, and boom, hits with a big resounding thud. And he just goes off. He's screaming, he's yelling, "What are you thinking? You are such an idiot. How dare you do this to my boat? This is a huge river, blah, blah, blah." And then he stops and he realizes there's nobody driving this vessel. This is a boat that had drifted away from the dock and was floating along with the stream. There was nobody else that was responsible for this. It was a boat that was aimlessly floating. And all of a sudden, he had to step back and think about where this anger was coming from. It's so quick. We're so quick to point the finger at somebody else as being the cause of the anger. And I know in my husband's family, his great aunt always said, when you're pointing one finger out, there are always three others pointing back at you. So I just, this is the second time I've heard this whole conversation or this whole parable. And it is fascinating to me, and just to think about that. I talked about that with my girls today. We listened to this section together. And my middle daughter, Ellie, immediately piped up and said, "Well, that's something that I should work on." And I said, "Well, what'd you get out of it?" And she said, "Well, that I don't need to speak when I'm angry." And I said, "That is perfect. It is not that you don't feel anger. You do feel anger. But a lot of times our first gut reaction is to retaliate. We spit fire back at whatever we say or we feel is the culprit of our anger. But really the culprit of our anger is within us, because everything else happens and is, and they are who they are. People are who they are. We are the ones that actually have that anger come forth. It's nobody else's fault in that. There may be actions that have been done, but we are in charge of that. And sometimes what happens is our mouths start to shoot those arrows and those darts and those bullets out as a way to kind of nail in that we are angry about something. And so what he talks about in this is to stay silent. When you are angry, don't talk. Sit back, listen, do do what you need to do. You can get in a parenting situation, remove yourself from the situation. Say, I need to take a break. I need to take a breather. It is not a matter of denying your feelings, but it is a matter of never speaking in anger. Because when you speak in anger, there are those things that sometimes are said that you can never take back. You think about our tech world now, and somebody writes an email, shoots off an email in anger, and then you have in written words things that are just biting that you can't take back. So this is just a really interesting topic. Obviously, we all feel anger in our lives. We all have this as something that we could be struggling with. And I just wanted to share that story and kind of see, where are you in this? How do you handle your anger? Do you shout back? Do you completely shut down and deny it? Do you process it out in a healthy way? Journaling, going for a run, taking a breather, and then coming back and addressing it after you've thought things out a little bit more. These are all healthy ways to do it. And we as parents have to set the example. And this is not just in how we deal with our children, but our children see when we spout off in anger and we're complaining to our spouse about a stupid thing our boss did today, or whether we are angry at the lawn man and going off. There are so many things that we can spout off about, and our kids are listening, and they're seeing that finger of blame shooting out, and us finding that everybody else is the culprit of our anger, and really we are responsible for that. So think about that. Keep that in mind, and think about what kind of image it's setting out and what kind of example you're giving when you spout off in anger. And I encourage you to get a little lesson from this, just like I did today. And this was my reminder. This was my reminder for this week. I hope you got some insights into anger and maybe some different perspectives on it, and possibly how you may want to deal with anger in a different way. Not only for yourself, but for the fact that all of us have others that are watching. And sometimes those others really need to see a good example. And I know for me, as a mama, I need to be careful about how my anger comes out and how my rage comes out, and whether I want to set the example of my ammo spewing out of my mouth in a negative way that can be harmful, because once it comes out, you can't take it back. It's been said. So keep that in mind. And instead of being mad about the cold, I've picked flowers and I've brought them inside right next to my warm little heater, and I'm enjoying spring. And I'm really trying to have a good attitude, because I know warmth will come and I know those good days will come. And I want to be able to relish them and not just complain about the one little thorn in my side. Namaste.